I don't write songs to be famous. I write songs because I don't know what I'd do if I didn't.
So I watched the highly anticipated but also extremely controversial Amy Winehouse biopic, Back to Black. As soon as the announcement came for an Amy Winehouse movie, it was already plagued with controversy, with many fans complaining about it being too soon and very exploitative. Even after being released, it is still receiving plenty of mixed reviews and reactions. Now, after watching it, I definitely have mixed feelings with this biopic and actually feel quite divided. Now, don't get me wrong, there are definitely more good points than bad, like the singing scenes, the concert reenactments, and the chemistry between the lead actors. But after finding out how many changes were made to Amy's story, I was left a bit disappointed and confused into some of the choices. The biopic focuses quite a lot on Amy's substance abuse, as well as her desperately wanting a family. Back to Black does, however, have the approval from the Winehouse estate, so I guess that's some good news. So let's dive into this new biopic and discuss the good, the bad, and the overall rating. First of all, I think Marissa Abela needs to be praised for portraying such an iconic singer, despite all of the controversy saying that her singing was bad. I really think she nailed Amy's voice and some of her mannerisms, especially as the movie went on to show more of her famous concerts. To be completely honest, Amy does come across as quite unlikable to begin with in this movie, as she seems very aggressive, brash and cocky when talking to people like her managers, but over time you learn to understand that this was just part of her. She was always quite outspoken and wasn't ashamed of it.
Being around the block, I guess people know that I don't really do what I'm told to do, or that I don't really care enough about what people think of me to conform to anything.
But there is a scene where she deliberately pushes a fan, which doesn't seem to be true after researching into it. So I think adding a scene like that just makes the audience look at her in a more negative light. The film isn't afraid at all to show Amy in a negative way, especially when revealing that she was physically violent to her then partner Blake. The washed out colour palette really does emphasise the grittiness of these scenes and gives it a sense of realism. The movie does heavily rely on this toxic codependent relationship to drive the movie forward, especially with their drug abuse. It is definitely interesting to see the many ups and downs of the iconic pair and were some of the best scenes. The actor who played Blake, Jake O'Connell, really shined in this role and had so much personality and charisma. But what was an odd choice was that the movie implied that Blake didn't introduce drugs to Amy, even though the real life Blake has stated that he did. It also made him look like some sort of savior and that Amy was the cause of her own drug abuse. The biopic also implied that Amy had a relapse after finding out that Blake was having a child with a new girlfriend, which also wasn't true. Even the relationship between Amy and her dad Mitch is also portrayed differently. He is seen as a very devoted and caring father, even though it has been reported many times that their relationship had been rocky in real life. There was one particular time where Mitch brought a camera crew to Amy's holiday, which was against her wishes. This wasn't at all in the biopic and was purposely cut out to show a different side to this daughter and father relationship. What is also interesting is that Mitch apparently didn't like his portrayal in the 2015 Amy documentary, so it does make sense why he has now been portrayed almost like a savior and a protector in Back to Black. In contrast to these relationships, you do get to see her deep fondness for her grandmother, Cynthia Levy. She was a jazz singer in her earlier years and was a great inspiration for Amy's own music and style. I think this relationship was very sweetly shown and was a great contrast to her father's and boyfriend's on-screen relationship. I really wish this was explored a lot more, as a lot of the plot is rushed through, as one moment Amy is in a normal family home and suddenly she's on the Jonathan Ross show. It would have been even nice to explore some of her close friendships, as it really seemed like she had no one. In addition to this, Mark Ronson was meant to be shown in the film, but was weirdly cut out of it. He was a pivotal part of Amy's career, so that was a bit disappointing that he was not shown at all, but just briefly mentioned. I was hoping there would have been a recreation of the song Valerie, but sadly not. To be honest, there really isn't enough of her music in this biopic. The movie does lean more into her downward spiral of alcohol and substance abuse, rather than what inspired her music. I think there were a lot of missed opportunities to show more of the real Amy. They didn't even show any real life footage of her at the end of the movie, which is a standard part of any biopic. They just showed text on the screen and explained that she died from alcohol poisoning. I really think this part was a huge missed opportunity to pay respect to the artist, but the concerts which were recreated were still really enjoyable to watch. I would rate Back to Black 6.5 out of 10. It is a flawed biopic, but I still have to give credit where it's due. They still managed to recreate some of her iconic concerts, and they weren't afraid to show some of Amy's dark past. It did make it feel more authentic and believable. I enjoyed both Amy's and Blake's performance, and both actors nailed their roles. I just felt a little bit disappointed with the plot points which were changed, but overall, it was still an enjoyable movie and is a biopic I would watch again. Have you seen Back to Black yet? I would love to know all your thoughts and opinions, so please do drop me a comment below. Thank you for watching and see you on the next one.